This is the lowest day in my athletic career.
It's 1973. Everything you thought was stable is gone.
Well, I'm not a crook.
Watergate, Vietnam, Bo versus Woody.
He is not going to get the first down.
What happens when sport's greatest rivalry isn't decided on the field?
Nobody wanted to tie.
We kept the vote secret.
We got screwed.
I am bitterly resentful at the way this thing was handled.
Back on BTN Live, it is Tiebreaker, our first ever feature-length documentary on BTN on Saturday night after the Michigan-Northwestern game. Again, the backstory, 1973, Ohio State and Michigan both come into the season-ending game undefeated. Only one team from the Big Ten could go to a bowl game at that time. It was the Rose Bowl or nothing. The game ended in a tie, and the next day the athletic directors voted to send Ohio State rather than Michigan to the game. We are pleased to be joined now by Dennis Franklin, who was the quarterback of Michigan in that game. He joins us now on the phone. And Dennis, you are featured very prominently in Tiebreaker, and it is very evident from watching it how profoundly it affected you at the time and how much it affects you to this day. When you think about the events of those couple days in 1973, what comes to your mind first?
Well, the devastation of just, preparing and playing, throughout the season with one goal in mind. The goal was to get to the Rose Bowl and have an opportunity to play in that game. And the fact that we hadn't gone the year before, and Ohio State did go the year before, and we were undefeated, and we felt like we had, played better than they did. And I think even a lot of the players that were talked to in Tiebreaker even felt that we played better than they did, felt that we should have gone to the game or should have gone to the Rose Bowl.
One of the things that happened in that game is that you were injured, and there is a lot said in the film about what impact that may have had or may not have had on the athletic director's vote. What's your sense in hindsight? How big of an issue do you think it was, the uncertainty of whether or not you'd be at 100% if Michigan were sent to the game?
Well, I guess that's the consensus that a few people were talking about my injury, but I don't really think that it should have had any impact. I mean, you don't send somebody to a bowl game based on whether or not you think they can win. That wasn't the issue. The issue is, do you deserve to go? And I think everybody felt that Michigan was in a better position, deserved to go. The fact that Ohio State had gone the year before, and we played better in the Michigan-Ohio State game, and we deserved to go, period.
And the film captures this really powerful moment where Bo Schembechler is going in to tape his weekly television show at a downtown Detroit TV station, and he is informed there by the assembled media of the results of the vote and the fact that Ohio State's going to go instead of Michigan. And he has these, again, very powerful sound bites discussing his unhappiness surrounding this game. Do you remember where you were when you found out? In other words, what was your Bo moment?
When Bo told us in our meeting on Sunday, I never saw him so upset in my life, and he was really at a loss for words. And Bo is generally not at a loss for words, but he had a very difficult time trying to explain to us why and what had happened. So it was a very profound moment in our lives, and I think most of the guys will never forget that particular moment.
The film talks about you guys going 32-1. So 2 losses, 30 wins, 1 tie in a 3-season span, and never once getting that opportunity to play in a bowl game because, again, it was Pasadena or nothing. When you watch the Rose Bowl today, what are your emotions when you see teams run out there? Certainly Michigan has done it many, many times subsequent to that.
Well, we always I particularly try to reflect on, what that would really feel like to just be there for one time, have that one opportunity to just play in that game one time, to feel what it's like, to have that experience, to be out in California for a week, feel the roses, and, even though I live out here now, back in those days, it would have been something special to experience California for a week and play in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that's the biggest bowl of them all.
Let me ask you this. There's such a rivalry. It's so intense between Michigan and Ohio State. And in watching the film, one thing that really stood out to me, because I knew the story, I didn't necessarily know the emotions behind it. I mentioned Bo Schembechler at the television studio. You fast forward, they have another interview with him that is nearly 20 years later, and there is an equal amount of vitriol coming out. I mean, he still has that same kind of disappointment that you saw the moment he found out. Do you think it would have been different for him and for you if it weren't Ohio State? I mean, let's say it was Michigan and Minnesota, hypothetically, and the exact same situation in Minnesota would have gone to the Rose Bowl. Would it have been different?
I think Michigan, Ohio State, there's a special feeling about that particular rivalry that draws no comparison with the other games. And maybe Michigan State comes close, but nothing is on the same level as a Michigan-Ohio State game.
Dennis Franklin, former Michigan quarterback, very much appreciate your time, everything that you've done to make Tiebreaker as wonderful a film as it is. I'm looking forward to having the world get a chance to see it on Saturday, and we're looking forward to hosting you in studio as well on our pregame show on Saturday morning. We'll see you then, Dennis.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.